Hello and welcome back to FlowState here on this injured arm edition. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope your week has been extremely productive, grounded, full of compassion and love for yourself and the world around you, amplifying the human existence for yourself and the people closest to you in a meaningful way that brings joy into your life. The first thing on my mind to talk about today is bring the motherfucking joy. Bring it, baby. Bring it with exuberance. Bring it with life. Bring it with a sense of calm, a sense of purpose, a sense of presence, most importantly. Presence is something that we talk about a lot. Presence and joy is something that we're going to dive into today. We're going to talk about presence and joy. How even in moments of, let's say, pain, we'll talk about this in a moment, moments of blissed out, fucking dialed in flow, moments of confusion, extreme stress, negative stress, and then there's positive stress, which we talk about as well, or at least I do, to be able to reframe what it feels like to be stressed in a positive motivation as juxtaposed to a negative stressed emotion. Two very different things. So bring the motherfucking joy. I think bringing the joy in everything that we do is such a delightful and refreshing reframe. Especially in the grind, especially in the moments where we know we have to do stuff. We may not want to do it per se, but it just needs to get done. Basic things like taking out the trash, doing the dishes, folding laundry, or whatever, mowing the lawn, cleaning up the garage. There's so many things that we humans do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that aren't necessarily things that we would choose to do if we had options. Now, obviously, the more resources you have, the more opportunity you have to outsource, which is wonderful, and you can certainly incorporate that into your life as a goal and objective to be able to have different outputs of that work and effort that you've put in. But if you really break it down, for the most of us, most people have shit going on in their life that just needs to get done, that if they could choose not to do it or to outsource it, they most likely would. And especially in those moments, in those multiple moments, because again, for the most part, for most of us, it's not just once, it's doing things over and over again. And we, I think, tend to default to thinking about the struggle that is the innate process of doing whatever that thing is. And so I'm here to say, hola, it's all about bringing the joy to everything that we do as a collective, and by doing so, amplifying the human experience for ourselves and transferring positive vibe energy out of our body and affecting the people that we're around or participating in whatever activity is that we're doing. Also, it just comes to mind, traffic. Traffic is a great opportunity for you to bring the motherfucking joy. Let's just take a quick panoramic scene here. Another lovely day on the North Coast. A little cloudy, but you know, whatever. So let's talk about it. Let's get in to bringing the joy and what that means for us, what that means for me, how I can be more present and intentional with my thinking of what it is that I want to feel during these activities that are peppered throughout my day, and leveraging tools such as transition meditations and setting intention of the way, for example, me, I want to feel while doing these activities. So I'll give you a real quick example. Just before I started pressing record, I did maybe a 1-minute meditation where I focused on my breath. I repeated the word release a few times and opened my eyes and said essentially a short mantra that I made up on the spot, or a phrase of intention about what I wanted to feel, how I wanted this walk to go, and then focused on my breath again, and that was it. I felt a certain levity. I felt more connected to the intention behind how I saw this play out in my mind. I equated specific feelings to what I was looking to feel along this walk here with you today. I'm also in a fuckload of pain right now. My arm is killing me. Much better than it has been over the past few days. But nonetheless, it's still something, this podcast, I'm committed to doing every week, unless there's something crazy that happens or I'm not able to, because I'm tapped into my core values and a higher purpose of alignment than allowing some pain or allowing circumstance, let's say, I was going to say uncontrolled circumstance, but you know, within a 7-day block of time, I can make an hour for this. Well, it's a little bit more than that, but you know what I mean. It's about being in alignment with my commitments that I've made to myself, in alignment with my goals, my aligned actions, all grounded in my core values. And it's that continuous practice that I'm engaged in that really amplifies, indifferent of the way I feel in the moment, what it is that I need to do, to take action, to lead as opposed to react. So this release meditation is something that I heard Brendan Bouchard talk about like 20 years ago, it feels like. Oh, whew. And it's the simple practice of doing a repetitive mantra, which is release, breathing, controlling your breath, and cycling through release, the word release. It's so simple and so powerful. Like most things that tend to move the needle in life are as complex free as you can imagine. The transition meditation or the transition tool or technique is also one of those things. Channeling the intention of emotion, the output of energy and work that one is looking to do before the activity starts, is something that I've been incorporating as much as possible, because I see the benefit immediately in transitioning between activities, or I guess, you know, there's always a transition period if you think about it. So I left the house, I got in the car, I walked out of the house, I got in the car, I drove to the place, and then I parked, And, there was multiple transitions there. It was from the house to the car. That's one thing. From parking to walking to the location where I started recording is another thing. And so there are so many opportunities throughout the day that we're transitioning through to be able to capitalize on. And ultimately, it brings us back to presence, the practice of presence, being more present, more intentional, more connected to our environment, our body, our mind, our emotions, to be able to leverage and regulate as much as possible, to be able to have the desired output of what we want, as opposed to a reaction based on our environment, our surroundings, uncontrollable things. There are so many variables. So after the release meditation practice, where I just grounded myself, went through it, 1 minute, sufficient. You can do it for 20, you can do it for an hour, whatever, doesn't matter. The practice is doing it. And I will say that I have been meditating off and on for many years now, and it's like riding a bike, for me at least. I feel like once I make that commitment to start cycling back into meditation, I find myself really quickly it's kind of like a blank screen after a few breaths. And then inevitably your thoughts pop back in, but then you do your best to release. You do your best to accept and continue on. You do your best not to latch on to the thoughts that inevitably arise and come through your mind. And that's it. That's the practice of meditation. It's just ultimately releasing thinking to create space within yourself for more thinking. But it's the practice of not latching on to those thoughts. That's what it is. And so it's obviously easier said than done, especially if you're sitting there for a long period of time where you inevitably will be bombarded with thoughts. And the more intentional you are with the practice, the more benefit arises from it, and the more clarity and energy comes as a catalyst from doing this practice. So setting your intentions for everything you do with acuity is, in essence, a very simple thing to understand conceptually. A more challenging practice to sustain over time. Because the effort required to put this practice into motion is not only a mental one, but a physical one. And the amount of distraction, the resistance that we're going to be fighting against is next level in our society, with everything that we have set up as a society to be able to distract us and to create, let's say, opportunities for what the intentional action is not labeled as a distraction, but ultimately is. The phone in your pocket, the social media apps, the constant, oh man, look at these. Are those geese? Oh, those are geese. I've never seen that. That's wild. Huh. I think it's a holiday today. So, the app makers of whatever are not setting out to make apps that distract you. I mean, some are, but others are mission built, but they end up being distractions. Social media in general is a tool, but it's also a distraction. It's a way of connecting, but it's also a way of numbing out. So anyways, I don't really want to focus on that because it doesn't matter. The point is using the opportunities that are presenting us with every moment of every day to be able to be more intentional with how we look at the activities themselves, and then having a intention behind how we want to feel about those activities and the output of activity and the level of presence that we're committing ourselves to. And the simple act of going through and doing this is in fact bringing you back to presence and creating an intention both in output of activity and the way you want to feel about it. So I, for example, declared that I wanted to be connected to my environment, to be channeling the truth that is within me, the thing that is alive in me, to be able to connect more to you, the viewer, to be able to articulate what I have to say in a succinct and clear way so that it resonates with you, and that you are then able to take actionable measures to incorporate these teachings into your life and enrich your life and enhance the inhuman experience for you. That to me is my intention. And how do I want to feel about this? I want to feel elated. I want to feel empowered. I want to feel calm. I want to have this omnipresent feeling of information that I'm then able to distill in clear sentences to be able to articulate my point for you then to absorb more clearly, and then for you to take action on that in a meaningful way in your life. So setting these intentions, feeling the intention before doing these activities. It's the same thing if you've ever seen professional athletes, for example, Formula One race car pilots, a golfer lining up a putt, bobsled, the Jamaican bobsled team, shout out to them. You know, they're there visualizing, or a downhill skier. They're at the gate up top of the hill. They have their eyes closed. They're going in and out of the gates. They're channeling their body, feeling the emotion, being connected to the activity, to the action, to executing their mission, priming their bodies on a cellular level. Wow. It's an amazing thing to see. And incorporating that into what we do on an ongoing basis, immensely powerful. And I would encourage you to try this practice. Incorporate it into what it is that you do. A great example of this would be finishing work and however your day went, regardless, right? It could have been the most incredible day at the office or whatever it is that you do in your life. Or it could have been a day full of shit and stress and, you know, just a lot of annoyances that have compounded throughout the day, and you might be in a miserable fucking mood. Or you might be in the best mood. Doesn't matter. Let's say you finish your day, you commute home, however you do. My recommendation would be for you to take a beat before going through the threshold of your home. Whether you're there alone, whether you have 18 kids and a happy wife waiting for you, whether you have 4 kids and a miserable husband waiting for you, it doesn't much matter. You take that intention, you take that moment, you take 3 to 5 minutes, whatever it is, whatever you need, and you practice in the simple act of reclaiming your power and presence by cycling through some breaths with your eyes closed, your back erect, holding a posture of dignity. You can do this standing up as well. And breathing, connecting with your breath, grounding yourself, releasing the thing that you just finished, the many, many hours of intense focus and high performance, and opening your eyes with a new sense of freedom, of what possibilities lie next. Releasing what you just experienced, and giving yourself a moment to create a new intention for the next block of time. How do you want to feel about what it is that you're going to be doing? How do you want to receive the people that you're going to be seeing? Having an intention of emotion along with an intention of activity or and or output, so powerful. You finished a really hard day of work, you're kind of fried a little bit. Do you want to show up into a home full of love and support, meeting that love and support and challenging it to be even more full of love and support? Or do you want to latch on to something that someone said or someone did or you failed to do or weren't able to complete, and have that be a lingering intention for how you greet your wife, your kids, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, or even just yourself? How do you want to feel when you open the door and see the people or see your space for the first time, having just finished whatever it is that you were doing, working, or even coming home from a dinner with friends or whatever? It can be anything, and it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is the practice of realignment, creating intention of how you want to feel and express yourself, and being open and receptive to other people's emotions, needs, and feelings, and general energy. How you want to smile, how you want to embrace your children who are so dying for love and affection from you because you've been gone all day. You could be coming back from a trip. You haven't been back home for 2 weeks. You want to be present during those times because what else are you doing? Why else are you there? You're there to be present. You're there to receive love and support and information from the people that you love, or the challenges that are arising that need to be dealt with. Approaching it from a high level, approaching it from the end in mind. Like so much of good strategy in business, looking at it from first principle thinking, looking at it from the end in mind, looking at it from how you want the conclusion of your outcomes to look like and feel, and then reverse engineering them. And it's a very effective tool for achieving goals. The power within that is profound because it shifts us from a reactive, unconscious state of mind to a conscious framework for which we can live inside and lead and receive. It's one of the most beautiful and connecting practices that we can incorporate into our life. And as simple as having an intention with the things that we don't particularly want to do but know that have to get done. Like, I'll just use something so basic, taking out the trash, doing the dishes, or even a project that you have been putting off or have scheduled in the future that is now fast approaching. Thinking about the positive outcome before you embark in the activity itself. Connecting that outcome to the feeling. It's essentially a form of manifestation, but breaking it down into more simplistic and less future-bound thinking, and more about leveraging all of the activities that you have chosen to do, even the ones you don't particularly want to do that you have chosen to do because they're in alignment with the bigger picture. And therefore, you should want to do those things because that's the end result that you're looking for. One thing could lead to another. One thing could be about knowing that this is something that just needs to happen so that you can take one step closer to feeling more connected with yourself and the output of what you're looking to do. So the next time you find yourself moving from one activity to another, the next time you find yourself walking through a doorway, just take a moment. Are you going from one meeting to a next? Do those meetings have nothing to do with each other? Don't bring the shit, the emotion, the output of what you just did into the new thing. Take 2 minutes. Reclaim your power. And watch how you feel. Watch how you perform. Watch how you can connect to yourself and the people around you in a more profound and meaningful way. So my arm, oh, woo! Oh my fucking fuck. So when I was 16, snowboarding, and I hit a tree, bang, in the woods, and I spun around the tree a bunch of times, kind of fucked my shit up. I mean, it was fine, but it was definitely a thing. Oh, so I don't know if I dislocated, it's all on this left arm. I don't know if I dislocated it. I don't know what exactly happened, but I definitely hit it hard. And, you know, there was definitely some recovery that needed to happen. And I did that, and, you know, I didn't think much of it. Fast forward about, I don't know, 12 years ago, I was driving from Houston, Texas to Sugar Land, Texas, on the highway by myself, just enjoying, listening to music. One hand, my right hand on the steering wheel, my left hand on the car door armrest. And all of a sudden, this heat, this acute tingling sensation started building in my left arm. And I found myself not being able to move my arm out. Like, here, I'll just pause for a minute. I couldn't do this. And the onset of pain that permeated through my left arm and a little bit into my chest, I thought I was having a heart attack. Straight fire, intense, throbbing pain. I have had never experienced this level of pain in my life. it was so deep in my arm. Like the outside of my arm, you can touch it. It doesn't create pain. But the pain is deep inside. So went to the house, laid on the couch, and I was just dying. I mean, it was so excruciating. I don't know if you can relate to this, if you've ever had something like this. And went to go see the doctor. The doctor said I had frozen shoulder or bursitis or anything. Realizing that, you know, now that doctor really had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. They had no real training or expertise in understanding this type of challenge, even though he was a general practitioner internist, and prescribed some pain medicine because it was, it was just like, almost passing out kind of in pain, but it didn't work. And so I Googled the prescription and then looked at the maximum dose for the day, and I just upped it. And it just still didn't work. It was so crazy. It was like tendon, nerve ending, I don't know, whatever. And I went back there and I'm like, look, it's not working. I need something else. And the guy just didn't believe me. He thought I wanted more painkillers, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's the environment where I was, you know. There's a lot of people that are dependent on painkillers, and, you know, I'm sure there's massive abuse as well. So now I'm going to turn around here. All right, make our way back. So went to go get an MRI. Big sophisticated machine, big expensive hospital, the whole thing, right? They saw nothing. They were like, everything's fine. I'm like, fuck you. You have no idea what you're talking about. Obviously not fine. I am literally dying here. And they saw nothing. They weren't able to see anything. And so I went back to the doctor. Person was absolutely no help. And by that time, it was like three weeks later. I was in a sling like this. And eventually it started subsiding, and then it was fine. I went on my merry way, and that was it. Didn't think much of it. 2 years ago, when we were back in the US, I was driving again. I was more physically active at that time, training and lifting weights. And, hold on, I gotta readjust here. And the same thing started happening. I was driving. I didn't lift anything heavy that day. We were on a road trip. Then all of a sudden the same shit started happening. I was like, oh man, this again. The only thing that seemed to work was Aleve. And I believe it's because Aleve is an anti-inflammatory. So that was about 2.5, 3 weeks to where I was fully recovered, and then it just was like nothing had happened, and I just, went back to the gym, continued on to my normal training routine. Everything was fine. So just like 3 days ago, and I'm being totally honest with myself, I felt it coming. I felt it coming when I was at the gym last week. And I was like, oh, fuck. But I ignored it in the sense that I didn't modify my training. I was still going forward with doing everything that I was normally doing. And, thinking that I could just leverage my body into doing what it needs to do to recover and repair. So one moment on Friday, it was a rest day, and reached out to Liz, said, hey, you know, she was out partying with some friends, spending the night somewhere, and then she's like, I don't know about training tomorrow because my shoulder is kind of fucked, and I feel like it's this thing happening again. And the next thing I know, the following day, my arm's in a sling, and it's just, here we go again. So a friend of mine recommended an osteopath. My understanding of an osteopath is someone who has multiple degrees and different certifications and has fused together a hybrid practice of sorts that incorporate, you know, Eastern medicine, like traditional medicine, things like acupuncture and various other modalities, as well as, let's say, understanding of like what it means to be a chiropractor and just various other modalities, right? It's like a combination of things. More holistic approach to taking care of the body and the alignment of your skeletal structure and muscles and tendons and joints. And it was so impressive to meet because he was incredibly grounding. His energy was just, wow, just so, I was transfixed by the calm and the, let's say, unspoken reassurance when I first met him. And so he brought me into his office. He stood me up in front of the mirror. He's like, he looks at me. He's standing behind me, looking into the mirror. We see each other's reflection. And he's like, here's the problem. He goes to my left shoulder in towards the neck. And he's like, that's the problem. I'm like, all right. So he's like, okay, take off your clothes, lay down on this massage table face down. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I just know what's coming because I'm only able to lay down on my back because of the way that the pain is permeating through my arm. I mean, it's like I could barely move my arm without the support of either my other arm or someone doing it. Just that sends shivers up my spine. So painful, so painful. And breathing and just if there were ever a time to channel my breath and meditation, it was like, wow. So he's there slowly manipulating my other arm. It's excruciating. And then he begins what I would describe as a intentional pain relief session that I interpreted as torture. And he then was, you know, the only thing that was pleasant, he started by putting hot stones on my back, which was like, this is nice. And then he went to town. He was sticking things in my arm, my back, what felt like around my spine, pricking my fingers with all kinds of shit. I was screaming audibly. And then after a few minutes, he's like, do you feel better? I'm like, you know, I do actually. And he's like, it's massive inflammation, essentially in this tendon that connects to the top of the shoulder area into the rotator cuff. I just forgot what it's called in English. Supraspinatus in Spanish. It could be the same in English with a slight variation. You know, I am so sorry to do this, but I have to pee. So enjoy the view of that. Ooh, that felt amazing. And we're back. All right, sorry about that. Flow state, keeping it real. So he's like, inflammation, and he checks my other arm, he checks the rest of me, he's like, you're good. And I feel great, you know? I mean, it's just the intense pain that I'm dealing with. And so obviously that's a struggle, but it's not necessarily affecting the way that the rest of my body feels. Fortunately, I have a standing desk and I'm able to work just with one hand on my laptop, and, you know, really grateful for all the voice and voice controls, which I use all the time. But anyways, so after this serious torture session, he was like, okay, come back on Monday. Today is Friday. I went to go see him on Wednesday. And then this started, I don't know, like 3 days before, on Saturday. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come back. And I'm like, well, what is it that we can do to prevent this from happening in the future? And he says to me that the rotator cuff is slightly askew from where it's supposed to be in alignment, which my mind went to that snowboarding accident years ago, and it probably just was never put back properly. I also forgot to mention that many years before this thing happened the first time, I was standing on the transom of a boat, and a friend of mine nudged my shoulder. I mean, the smallest little push, I mean, with a little force, but it wasn't like a big jerking motion thing. And I was pushed into the water, and I'm talking about, like, you know, like less than a foot of depth from the transom to the water. I mean, it was nothing. And when I hit the water, I felt my shoulder dislocate. I'm like, what the fuck? That was just crazy. So then I feel like, and there was no pain or anything, I just popped back in. I was like underwater, it was late at night. It's a good thing I held my breath. And so, anyways, he's like, your rotator cuff is probably not in alignment properly, you know? So it's like, come back on Monday. And I'm thinking to myself on Wednesday, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like dying here. He's like, the inflammation is gonna subside over the next few days, and check in on me on Sunday. The date this episode drops, actually. So I am in so much less pain than I was before. The inflammation has reduced tremendously. I am super into osteopath. Obviously, that's a massive generalization. I have only been to one person one time. And so anyways, we'll see how it plays out. But so many things have come up in the past few days about managing pain. I'm in the process now of essentially rebuilding all of the systems and processes from my coaching and guidance practice, from school to Kajabi. And it's a little bit of an overwhelming process, only because I have to rebuild everything. I don't have to rewrite everything, but there's no way of importing an entire course. Or also, I'm merging ConvertKit email sequences into Kajabi, so I have to rebuild all of that. And there's no way of importing it all, so you have to just start from scratch again. And so I was in excruciating pain, standing at my desk, you know, just channeling the big picture, channeling the way I wanted to feel, but there's this debilitating reality that is persistent and omnipresent, and to be able to have the high level focus that one needs to be able to just work through it, it was a test on all levels. And my emotions did get the better of me sometimes, where I felt overwhelmed because I'm learning a new system and feeling, let's say, this, ultimately self-induced pressure of wanting to have more progress than what I was able to do, which is silly and ultimately a waste of time. But sometimes you cannot control what comes up inside of you. You can't control the emotions that are bubbling up inside of you, but you can certainly control and regulate your responses. So I just made sure to lean on the tools and my teaching of what I coach and guide people on in the Growth Blueprint. And it was just such a wonderful experience to be able to pull myself out of some intense moments of self-induced, let's say, dysfunction. And there were times where I was lacking clarity, which then permeates into exacerbating negative emotions and a negative feedback cycle. But understanding processes and systems to keep me grounded in alignment, I leveraged what I teach and brought myself back to center by attacking the root cause of why I was feeling the way I was feeling, leveraging my core values practice, leveraging aligned goals, time management and prioritization, growth-oriented mindset, and restructuring very quickly through analysis and first principle thinking what it is that I needed to attack right then and there to be able to feel differently and to reclaim my power and to take action in a meaningful way that's going to move the needle forward, which is the intended output and desire that I was after. And the only solution to my challenge at that time. Getting clear is imperative to being able to have direction and aligned action. We often get so tripped up in our emotional state that we don't have clarity anymore. And when we don't have clarity, we lose ourselves because we have no aligned action or purpose that we can sink into that is bigger than ourselves, that's bigger than the moment that's right in front of us. I'm working on big picture idea and thinking to be able to ground myself in a meaningful way to then break those down into actionable steps and to say, hey, I don't need to do everything that Kajabi has to offer. I need to do the thing that's going to move the needle in a meaningful way, that's going to connect me more effectively and quickly to being able to impact the lives of the people that are seeking my guidance and support. So then I took a step back and I said, okay, let's do an analysis of what I need to do and what levers can I pull that are going to be bringing me closer to my objectives. And instantly I felt better. Instantly I was more connected. Instantly I was no longer reacting. I was leading through a framework. Independent of how I was feeling, my arm was fucking like, ah! It was a lot of shit all at once. Learning a new website builder, learning an entire new system, having the, let's say, relatable emotional state of overwhelm and anxiety, simply because I wasn't clear. I didn't have clarity. So understanding that right then and there, it was the best and most freeing moment of my days. And this happened a few times. This happened every day for like 4 days because, you know, I fell back into my trap of getting distracted, seeing a new feature that I was like, oh, what's this? And then going down a little rabbit hole. It was an exploratory mission of sorts, but also taking my attention away and my presence away from the thing that was in alignment with moving the needle in a meaningful way to be able to connect more quickly and effectively to my clients and to help people. This is not just some abstract concept about how to reclaim your presence and intention in your life and have control over your output of your thinking and grounding yourself. This is actionable and really disassociating the way one feels about clarity, like the emotional state behind how we go through our days, and really leaning in to a system that is there to support and amplify movement, to create momentum that is in alignment with what you're doing, not to push you in the wrong direction. That's distraction, that's resistance, that's temptation of things that aren't going to serve you in the long term. They're going to serve your interests in the short term, of course. Like, I could have just been like, I'm frustrated, fuck it. Who wants to go to the beach? But that would have only delayed the inevitable. That would have pushed me further away from my objectives and my goals. And so taking a break every hour, stretching, breathing, walking. I keep some resistance bands and kettlebells close by. Oh, this is cool. I'm gonna take a quick, I don't know, did you see the paragliders up there? It's cool. They start at these mountains, they go down, and sometimes, depending on the wind, they can take off from the areas right next to the ocean, which is super cool. Ugh. Fuck. Taking a break every hour, stretching your legs if you're sitting down, standing up, drinking some water, closing your eyes, going through 10, 20, 30, 100 breaths, Wim Hof breathing, release meditation. The statistics indicate that those who consistently do this practice have more energy, more focus, more output. Let's say you say, I have 4 hours to do this thing. You should be taking a break at least 4 times for, 3 to 5 to 10 minutes every hour. You will reclaim your power. You will be more focused. You will have a higher degree of output and performance than if you were to sit in your chair for those 4 hours straight. That is an unequivocal fact. There's no debating it. It's not about context switching either. It's not about being distracted. It doesn't mean pick up your phone, check email, have a conversation. It doesn't mean pulling yourself out of what it is that you're doing. It means reactivating yourself by a grounding process that you can use to amplify the human experience for yourself in that moment, to reset your intention, and then to use this as an opportunity to have a transition between each block of time. So if you were strategic about it, if you were planning this out in a way that's going to amplify your efforts, you would say, from this time to this time, I'm focusing on this element of this project. You break it down, you compartmentalize things so that when you come to the conclusion of each segment, let's say we're talking about this 4-hour chunk, you have closure. You have a next step sequence that you can then initiate that's going to propel you forward in a more meaningful way than if you were just to grind out 4 hours straight. The data is clear on this, and I would encourage you to do it. I would encourage you to set a reminder in your phone. Let's say you have your normal workday. You just set a timer for every hour. Boom. You're in a meeting, that vibrator timer goes off, you stand up. If you're in a meeting with, I don't know, however many people, maybe invite everyone just to say, hey, can we just take a breath, stand up, stretch, do a couple of body weight squats. It may seem weird to everybody, but I can guarantee that when you guys get back, it doesn't mean get on your fucking phone. It doesn't mean check your email. It doesn't mean drop out and go to social media. It doesn't mean to start having a conversation about something like the weather, some bullshit. It means shut the fuck up, take control of your faculties in a way that's gonna amplify this next block of time so you can crush it, so you can fucking, you don't even know what's possible. It's like taking a massive power nap. Hold on, I'm gonna flip this over. This is so cool. I did that once on the other side of the island. Pretty epic. Oh man. So, 60-minute breaks. Just try it. You literally have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It's something for you to do, whether you're alone. Oh, little traffic jam here. Whether you're alone, whether you're with a group of people, whether you feel like you can't afford to do what it is that I'm asking you to do, right? You're relying on your emotional state to lead you. Whereas I'm proposing you have a system that you leverage to be able to amplify your efforts, right? Removing your dependency on how you feel as a catalyst for taking action and saying, hey, I have a system that I can leverage, so I'm gonna leverage it because we know it works. We know through data that it works. That's a good system. Something that you can measure on an ongoing basis and reflect on to be able to analyze effectively and to then choose how to move forward by either modulating the system to further refine or stay the course because it's serving you. That's what we do inside the Growth Blueprint. My coaching and guidance practice is based on this. Meeting you where you are to take advantage of your strengths, show and exploit weaknesses to be able to course correct to serve your interests in the long term. To remove this idea of your emotions as the catalyst for doing anything, and for you to rely on the things that are going to move the needle forward in a meaningful way for you. Whatever that means to you. Bringing a little bit more joy. As I started this episode, bring the motherfucking joy. You should tattoo that shit on your arm. Bring the joy. And what does that mean to you? It means whatever it is, like smile more. I'm gonna smile more while I'm doing my work. Something that is a bit of a grind, but I know it's in alignment with what I need to do. So it's all good. So I'm gonna smile, because why wouldn't you smile? If you can be miserable for no reason, you can fucking bring the joy for no reason. Try it. You'll see how quickly your energy shifts. You'll see how quickly you become more productive, more present, more in alignment with what you're doing. Feel the feelings that you're looking for before these activities start. Bring the motherfucking joy. I'm in pain. I'm not gonna let this impede my ability to be connected to what I'm looking to do in life. Maybe this would have been more challenging the first day, but certainly not now. All right, meandering back here. You know what? On this note, as I trek up these, in between these cactus up there, up that road, nice little last moment view of these paragliders. Wow, what a great episode. Thanks so much for dropping in. I appreciate every one of you. Please, if you found value in this conversation, drop a comment, like, subscribe, share it with people closest to you that you feel will make an impact in their lives. That's what it's all about. Community, growth, taking action, leveraging the systems to be able to achieve those goals. Check out the description of the video for links to the growth blueprint, the new Kajabi infrastructure, which I'm focused on getting launched before Sunday, which is when we drop this episode. Thanks so much for dropping in. Let me know how I can best serve you in the comments. Till next time, have a great week, everybody.